Good evening. Our top story this week. The South Carolina Supreme Court orders baby Veronica's removal from her real father to be handed over to the wannabe adoptive parents and orders his parental rights to be terminated. Native American communities across the U.S. and Canada are crying out to stop the forced removal of the little girl from her father, who vows to fight back and seek the assistance of his Oklahoma U.S. senators because the court made a decision without holding a hearing to determine what would be in the best interest of the child. In Florida, DCF boss David Wilkins quits amid an escalating scandal over the recent deaths of 4 small children who had a history with the state's CPS agents. This after the state's private child welfare agencies go to the legislature for a solution with their contract dispute with them. In California, more grandparents than ever are raising the kids these days. And in Washington, D.C., the child protective industry is still failing to meet certain court-mandated standards, including the acceptable benchmark for abuse and neglect investigations, with only 62% done right over the last 6 months of 2012. In Connecticut, an activist minister who was critical of the child protective industry due to racial issues is fired from his DCF job for not supervising the boys in his care. In Kentucky, a newspaper advice columnist who gave out old-school parenting advice is told to stop because he doesn't have the proper license as a psychologist. In South Dakota, the government is supporting the efforts of the Native American tribes who want to run their own child welfare and foster care systems. And researchers from PSU and Harvard University have found that low-income children who participate in Head Start are less likely to be abused than the kids who don't. In India this week, the High Court is worried about the government's failure to do anything to protect children from pedophiles on the internet. In Scotland, a respected expert on child protection is charged by police with fraud over allegations that she claimed to have a medical qualification that she didn't. And in Pakistan, the pathetic conditions of the country's orphanages is warranting government intervention. In Canada, a new report from Alberta details the deaths of 10 foster kids in their care, along with the severe injuries of another 21 kids. And a woman from Ontario is looking for her biological siblings who were all separated through adoption when they were babies. In Australia, a mother starts shooting her mouth off on Facebook, bragging about how she won custody of the kid, only to have the court catch wind of it and send the kid back to the father in New Zealand. Asylum-seeking children who are being held in a prison in Tasmania are attempting suicide at high rates. And a New South Wales CPS agent hits back at all the criticism the agencies have been getting due to a rash of failures, saying that workers are heroes who save children from abuse and neglect, and that it's not their fault that they can't keep up or get it right. In England, a social worker threatens her tenants that she will sick social services on them and have the kids taken away unless they pay the rent. Watchdog group Ofsted rates Kingston Council's children's services as inadequate for the 2nd year in a row. A British mother who killed herself and her 2 sons, as it turns out, did so because she was afraid that social workers were going to take her kids away. And the British Education Secretary strips Doncaster Council of its child protection responsibility and powers. The names of 42 dead children were used by British police in undercover operations, and although the families deserve an apology, they have not been informed because of the risk to police. Some self-righteous hypocrites try to put a stop to a Punch and Judy puppet show by accusing the organizers of glorifying child abuse. And the United Kingdom becomes one of the most dangerous places on earth to take your kids due to social workers snatching foreign children at astonishing rates. In entertainment news this week, Charlie Sheen's ex Denise Richards gets to keep his other kids for at least the rest of the year while Brooke Mueller gets her shit together. But Brooke Mueller is granted a supervised visit with the kids, which is overseen by a CPS agent from the Los Angeles County Department of Children and Family Services. In sports, former NBA star Allen Iverson pays his child support and avoids going to jail for non-compliance. And the adopted son of the Penn State pedophile football coach Jerry Sandusky files the papers to change his name. In Alaska, a former foster parent has additional charges filed against him in a sexual abuse investigation that is dating back 40 years. In Connecticut, a foster mother gets 100 days in jail for beating a 4-year-old with a wooden spoon. In Indiana, a man who is accused of sexually abusing foster kids makes a plea deal that could send him to prison for the next 3 years. And in Maine, a 14-year-old threatens his foster parents with a knife. In Michigan, an FBI report reveals that a foster parent who got caught with 32,000 images of child pornography has cared for 29 foster kids over the years, adopted some, and had a job as a counselor working with kids as well. In Utah, a teenager who is accused of stabbing his 2 younger adopted brothers appears in court for the first time. In Florida, a woman is suing the child protective industry and the YMCA for not protecting her from sexual abuse when she was a foster child. And in Nebraska, a father is told that his canceled checks are not enough have to prove that he's paid his child support and that he now owes $11,000. In New York, a mother tries to rescue her kid from a foster home, but he is quickly recaptured. In Pennsylvania, a judge dismisses a lawsuit that would have challenged the state's guardian ad litem system because of an ongoing matter in the family court. In Texas, a theater group wants to make a TV pilot out of the state's child protective industry's records. And finally, tonight in Rhode Island, a boy gets his arm broken while being physically restrained by staff at a group home. For these stories and all the latest dirt on the child protective industry, visit www.legallykidnapped.com. And until next week, this is Baby LK, over and out.